What's up guys, Colin Matthew here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over 3 ways to drastically increase your credit score in as little as 30 days. If you're new to the channel, my name's Colin Matthew. I'm a business credit coach who's personally acquired over $300,000 in business credit approvals, and I've helped 600 other entrepreneurs, investors, and business owners acquire business funding as well. A few years ago, I was going for my first round of business funding, but I experienced a few hurdles and obstacles. The funding companies wanted me to have a 680 or higher credit score in order to get approved. But at the time, my credit scores were just 585. You see, I maxed out all of my personal credit cards for the inventory of an e-commerce store, and that dropped my scores from 750 all the way down to 585. Well, one of the strategies I'm going to be teaching you today jumped my scores from 585 all the way back to 758 in just 30 days. I'm also going to be covering multiple other strategies, and I've either personally used these strategies to increase my scores, or I've helped tens, if not hundreds of others increase their scores by upwards of 100 points in as little as 30 days with the strategies I'm about to show you. So let's hop into it. So as you know, there are 5 credit scoring factors. Payment history, worth 35% of your score. Total amounts owed, worth 30% of your score. Credit length, worth 15% of your score. And worth just 10% of your score is credit mix and new credit. In this video, we're going to cover multiple strategies you can use to drastically increase your score with the 3 top scoring factors: payment history, amounts owed, and length of credit history. So the biggest credit scoring factor is payment history. It's worth 35% of your credit score. And what a lot of people don't know, it's actually divvied up in half. 17.5% is your percentage of on-time payments, and 17.5% is your derogatory marks in public records. So let's go over percentage of on-time payments. A lot of people don't really understand that this is the percentage of your total payments that were on time. So for example, if Jim has only made 2 payments on all of his credit cards and all his credit history, and one of those payments was on time and the other was late, Jim is on time 50% of the time, and his scores are going to drop drastically. Now, on the other hand, let's say John has made a total of 100 payments across all his credit cards, and he only missed 1. That means 99 payments were made on time. This would make him 99%. So a way that you can actually increase this scoring factor is by making many payments across all of your accounts, so that when and if you ever do have a lateness, your percentage of on-time payments looks a lot better. You can also be added as an authorized user to a friend or family member's credit card, and if that credit card has many of on-time payments on it, those will now report to your credit profile, will help your payment history. Now, the other thing about percentage of on-time payments is it factors in your latenesses. And one of the quickest, easiest ways to increase your score is if you just have 1, 2, or even 3 late payments that are recent within the last year, that could be dropping your score upwards of 110 points. And what a lot of people don't know is it's actually fairly easy to get a late payment that is recent removed when you implement the right strategy. I've used goodwill emails to the CEOs of companies to get rid of late payments from Capital One, American Express, Military Star Card, and many other lenders. Even my mortgage. In fact, recently, about 9 months ago or so, I had a 30-day late payment report into my mortgage. I emailed the CEO of my mortgage company telling him that I had automatic payments set up, but it did not go through, and how confusing their website was to get everything set up. They called me within 1 hour of receiving my email, and the CEO's assistant apologized and told me, this was a Friday, that the late payment would be removed by Monday. And this jumped my score 80 points when it reflected on my credit report 30 days later. And I'm far from alone. I've helped many other people do this. Goodwill email or letter, or even phone calls. As you can see, Chris Sloan, this was about a week ago, he emailed me. He got a 60-day late payment removed just by calling Upgrade and using the Goodwill method. You could see my client Zishan, he had a 30-day late payment recently, just a month ago, on his Lincoln vehicle, auto loan, etc. And he sent the Goodwill email and Goodwill letter, and they responded back that they will remove the late payment. Lastly, you could see one of the YouTube commenters got 5 late payments removed from Capital One by sending a Goodwill email to the CEO. So if you haven't already, check out the video I made on sending a goodwill email to the CEO for Capital One. It's helped many people remove their late payments. It only takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And guys, all these strategies only work if you do. If you do nothing, nothing's gonna get better for you. If you are diligent and you care about your credit and you work hard to implement every strategy you could possibly find, I can promise you're gonna get some great results. Now, the other half of payment history is derogatory marks, public records, such as charge-offs, repos, collections. And of all of those, the easiest to typically get removed is a collection account. Now, 33% of Americans have some type of debt in collections. Oftentimes, it's small medical debts in my experience. And as you can see, arranging a pay for deletion agreement or a settlement can get that collection removed in as little as 30 days in most cases. I had a student, Rashida, she got 3 collection accounts removed by calling the collection companies and arranging a settlement or a pay for deletion agreement. Now, I would advise you to get this in writing because many collection companies can be sleazeballs at times and they'll accept your payment and not remove it. But even if they do this, do keep in mind, paid collections are often easier to get removed when you dispute them than unpaid collections. And that's because the collection company has already received the money from you and they're less motivated to answer the disputes you file with the credit bureaus or to verify that collection debt, making it easier to fall off once it's been paid. As you can see, Elijah disputed a collection account with a round 1 dispute letter, and it increased his score from 525 all the way to the 700 range, over 190 points in just 20 days. And you could also see at the bottom, Angelica was actually able to remove a Sprint collection, which increased her score by 32 points. The next largest credit scoring factor is amounts owed or credit usage. It's the percentage of credit you're using out of the total amount of credit you have. As I was saying, I maxed out all my credit cards for an e-commerce store, and by making this one shift, I increased my score over 100 points in just 30 days. A lot of people don't know that you can actually pay off all of your credit card debt with a personal loan, and this will drop your utilization to 0% because credit usage only factors in revolving accounts such as credit cards and lines of credit. Installment loans and personal loans count towards your debt to income. So by paying off all my credit cards with a personal loan, I dropped my utilization from 100% to 0%, and this skyrocketed my score over 100 points the very next month. Oftentimes, if you don't already have a personal loan on your credit profile, this can also add a new type of credit account to your credit mix and increase your score even further. And the average person pays $1,200 per year in interest for every $10,000 in credit card debt they have. So this can not only increase your scores, but save you money, and it can get you out of that vicious cycle of making the minimum payment for years. One of my junior Marines actually reached out to me last week, and he let me know, Sergeant, and I think it's funny he still calls me Sergeant, but he said, Sergeant, I have $10,000 in credit card debt, and I've had it for like 7 years, and it hasn't gone down. And that's because he kept making the minimum payments. Well, at least with a loan, it's typically termed 3 years to 5 years, and you know there's an light at the end of the tunnel when you finish paying it off, and oftentimes it could save you money and interest. Now, I know what you might be thinking, guys. Colin, who's going to approve me for a personal loan when I have a 580 credit score, etc.? Well, Navy Federal, the bank that I banked with, gave me a personal loan at 6% interest because I had a relationship with them for many years. So despite having a low credit score, I was able to get a personal loan through them. Many of my students get personal loans with a soft credit check from Best Egg or One Main Financial or Upgrade, and oftentimes they're able to find decent interest rates better than they're paying on their credit card. Another strategy you can implement is increasing limits by getting a credit line increase on your current accounts, which will lower your utilization in comparison to your new higher credit limits, or getting approved for a higher limit account, or being added as an authorized user to a friend or family member who has a credit card account with a very high limit and low balances. This can increase your overall limits, drop your utilization, and skyrocket your scores in the very next month. The next credit scoring factor is credit length. What a lot of people don't know is it's worth 15% of your score, but it's the average age of all your accounts. So let's say Jim and John both have a few 10-year credit cards, but Jim only has one 10-year credit card. His average age is 10 years. Now, let's say they both apply for a new credit card. Jim now has one 10-year card and one brand new card. This drops his average age from 10 years down to 5 years and can lower his score. Whereas John, who had 10 10-year credit cards, when he applies for that new card, it may drop his age from 10 to 9.6 years because he had so many established accounts, which really helped his average age. This is why it's so important when you're young and just starting out with your credit profile to get many new accounts so that you can establish a good foundation for your average credit age. And later down the road, when you apply for new credit, it's not going to drop your average age drastically because you have a good foundation with many aged accounts. One thing you could actually do in this situation is close some of your newer accounts. Now, a lot of people will tell you closing accounts is never a good idea, and oftentimes it is not. But if you've just been approved for a new account and maybe it's a low value relationship, such as a store card that you didn't even need, or that it was a card that granted you a very low limit, like $100 or just $200, if you calculate your average age without that card and it increases your average age, it may be worth closing that account because it increased your scores. To give you an example, I have about 14 accounts and I applied for a new Capital One and Discover card. They both granted me very low limits because it was during COVID, and my average credit age actually dropped from 7 down to about 3.5. And after I closed those two accounts, my scores jumped right back up. Of course, another thing you can do is add an authorized user trade line with somebody like a friend or family member who has a very aged account. And as long as it doesn't have any late payments or negatives on it, it could increase your average credit age and jump your score. So that about wraps this up, guys. I hope you guys learned something new or found this video valuable. To recap what we went over in today's video, there are a few tips and tricks and little tweaks you can make to drastically increase your credit score in as little as 30 days. Adding authorized user trade lines with large credit limits, low balances, or lots of credit age can drastically increase your credit scores once they report the very next month. If you have a few late payments or collections, these can be removed in as little as 30 days by implementing strategies such as pay for deletion agreements or settlements, or sending goodwill emails, letters, and phone calls to the creditors, lenders, institutions, and even their CEOs. Increasing credit limits or consolidating all of your credit card debt on a personal loan can drop your utilization and drastically increase your scores while saving you money on interest. Closing newer accounts and keeping older accounts open can increase your average credit age and increase your scores in as little as 30 days. Let me know what you guys think about the slides. I'm a visual learner and I feel like a lot of people are as well. And I think it's a shame that more YouTubers don't take the time to add these kind of visuals that can really make a difference in the learning in these videos. So let me know in the comments below if you guys found them valuable or if you enjoyed them. And as always, smash that like button to help out with the YouTube algorithm, and smash that subscribe button for 2 to 3 videos on credit every single week. This is Colin Matthew, and I'll see you guys on the next one.